Hello everyone and welcome back to another round of Spellhold Games Presents Tuesday Night Legacy, where we get to show off the best format that Magic has to offer. My name is Eugene and I will be your commentator for this round 3 from April 5th. On the left we have Max playing his blue-black Doomsday Tempo list, and on the right we have Alan playing a classic blue-red Delver list. Both of these decks like to operate on a Tempo format, Tempo axis, and Max has the extra added ability of comboing off a win if he has the advantage. So let's see who takes the win this round. We have Alan starting the play with a turn 1 Delver of Secrets. Namesake of the deck, this has been the classic win condition of these blue-red tempo lists forever now. And this card just being there to get in for 3 damage each turn, and just protecting it with all sorts of counter spells, counter magic, removal. It, over 7 turns, it actually gets the job done. We see Max just passing there. No turn 1 plays. A Delver getting in for 1 damage. No instant or sorcery off at the top there. But Alan does want to make a play here on turn 2. He's going to go ahead and ponder. I think he just saw a Delver and 2 lands off of that ponder, so looking at the rest of his hand, he's got an Expressive, another land, I think that's a Daze, and maybe a Brazen Borrower. So kind of deciding, is this worth keeping? Decides, yes it is. Going to go ahead and draw that Delver. Now we have 2 Delvers in play, so although this is only 2 damage now, it can quickly turn into 6 damage, and that's a much, much bigger clock. Turns it in from, 9 turns into 3 turns? So hopefully, we do know that he's not going to be drawing an instant or sorcery next card, so has to set up the play. We see Max just doing a Brainstorm. I think that was a main phase Brainstorm. Yeah, he passed it back to Alan here. Going to do an Expressive Iteration. We're seeing a fetch in response, get another island, and that's going to be a Flusterstorm. We often see this card come in for a sideboard, but it's also very good in the main board. It not only can stop the storm, which is, what it's designed for, but it also wins those counter wars pretty easily, since you're paying 1 mana and getting as many Force Spikes as there were cards cast that turn. So that was good for 2. So that Daze in Alan's hand couldn't have saved him from that Flusterstorm, so it wasn't even worth fighting over. We see Max playing a Lotus Petal into a Murktide Regent. The win condition in both of these decks, or one of them at least, exiling 5 cards from the yard is going to get him 3 counters, only 3 instants and sorceries out of the yard. But having a 6/6 flyer for 2 mana is still extremely good. That fetch land is going to reset the top card of Alan's deck, and it just so happens to be a Lightning Bolt, which is going to get him 2 Insectile Aberrations. And that Brazen Borrower being cast for the Petty Theft, returning the Murktide Regent to Max's hand to clear the way for these 2 Delvers, bringing Max already down to 9. Going back to Max's turn, he's got the Temporal Mastery, which is going to buy him an extra turn here for 2 mana. Nothing like casting Time Walk in Legacy. It does get exiled as a part of the cost, though, so it can't be abused. Only a few of those spells can truly be abused, but we've seen them banned, like what was that card called? Temporal Nexus, something like that. Gets shuffled back into your deck, and it's the only card in your deck, so you take infinite turns. Ridiculous. We don't do that here. Well, we might do that here. You never know. If it's good enough to get shoved into a Legacy shell. We see the Doomsday being resolved here. Oh, that's going to be next game. Doomsday, picking Max's 5 favorite cards. He's going to try and set up for the combo win here. Oh, no, he's not, because it got Force of Willed. Or no, it got Dazed. That's right. So, didn't have that extra mana for the Doomsday. So, Max is still kind of clambering into this game, getting hit by a couple more Delvers. He's really scrambling here, trying to figure out something to do. We see a Baleful Strix come down. This is at least going to save him from one of the Delver of Secrets but he does have just enough mana to cast that Murktide Regent for 4, or for 2, and that's going to get him a 5/5 flyer. But we see Alan with his own Murktide Regent just a little bit bigger here. Nothing off the top. So now we are in... This is going to come down to combat here. Just the way that both these decks love to grind out these games. No attacks from Alan. Doesn't find it beneficial. So we see another Baleful Strix off the top. Now that's enough blockers for all 3 to be traded. And whatever that card is in Max's hand, he didn't want to play it. Don't know if it's a land or it could actually be something useful here. Alan weighing his options. I'm not sure if that Brazen Borrower is in play right now or not. It is indeed. So, 4 cards being attacked. So we're going to see 3 damage come through from 1 Delver remaining. 3 mana is going to get another Murktide Regent on Alan's side, so he was fine to trade all those cards because he knew that he was going to have a big attacker there anyways. Didn't even exile any instants or sorceries. Just 2 3/3s is going to be enough to close out this game, he hopes. Looking at his last cards, he's got a Brainstorm. Does he Brainstorm now? Yep. So another Murktide Regent in that hand. He's got a Force of Will. He's going to put the 2 lands back. Hold on to the Force of Will Murktide Regent. There we go. Tax for 6, and that's enough to go to the next game. Max is going to be on the play here. They're looking at their 7 and decide, yeah, this is good. Pre-game action, we see the Leyline of the Void come down. This is going to hurt the Delver strategy a little bit. Don't have access to Delirium for Dragon's Rage Channeler, and don't have access to the Murktide Regent Delve. So it's kind of stranded in your hand as a 7 cast. 2 black mana. No, blue mana, black mana. We see Malevolent Hermit on Max's side. So this guy can either counter a spell for you or come back later and make all of your non-creature spells uncounterable. A useful card when trying to resolve the Doomsday combo, especially the backside. Just a Delver for Alan right now. Kind of thinking about his plays here. It looks like he doesn't have another land. No, he has 1 Polluted Delta in hand, but a lot of choices. Can drop the Dragon's Rage Channeler, can go for a Brainstorm. Not entirely certain what to do. 1 mana, gets the Dragon's Rage Channeler, play the Polluted Delta. This is probably the best way to generate as much advantage as possible due to the Surveil triggers. Going to see a Lightning Bolt on the Malevolent Hermit and put that extra land that Alan saw on the top of the deck right into the grave. Ooh, but this is going to be a big play. Dragon's Rage in play for just that 1 turn before this Plague Engineer came down. Turns out both of those little creatures in Delver Secrets share the creature type human. So if they are not big yet, then they are annihilated by this static -1/-1 effect from the Plague Engineer on human. And until Alan has Delirium, he cannot play either of those again, or else they'll just go straight to the graveyard. Not an amazing play. So he just passes it right back. And this Plague Engineer is going to get in for beats. See a Ponder from Max, kind of deciding which card's the best. We're going to see a Night's Whisper that's going to draw him 2 cards, and he's going to lose 2 life at a sorcery speed. A powerhouse of a card in Pauper. And it also draws you cards without having to... It gives you true card advantage instead of things like Ponder and Brainstorm that are more like card selection. You get to see more cards and replace the card that you drew. Whereas that's just drawing you 2 extra cards. I guess it only nets 1 additional card over a Ponder. We're going to see Expressive Iteration from Alan, trying to claw his way back into this game. We do see him with a Dragon's Rage in hand, but no Delirium. Never going to have Delirium, actually, because of that Leyline of the Void in play. So kind of a dead card. Going to see a Brainstorm. Unfortunately, seeing more dead cards. until he can get rid of that ley line. Things like Delver of Secrets is just not the cards you want to see. I think the only thing that's really going to dig Alan out of this game is a Murktide Regent. But then again, it costs 7, so tough spot for Alan right now. See, Max just drawing some cards, brainstorming, putting the cards he doesn't want on the top of his deck, and then fetching for a land, get rid of those bad cards. He does have 3 mana here. Oh, 2 mana for a Baleful Strix. Max really on that tempo plan right now. There's no reason to put himself within bolt range, so he's just going for those attacks. Alan can't really do anything else, so why take the risk? We see the one of Steam Vents coming down. Most Delver decks at this point actually want access to 5 Volcanic Islands, and since that's not a legal amount of Volcanic Islands to have in a deck, the one of Steam Vents comes in. Closest thing to a dual land you can get to right now. Unless you want to go for a Triome, but that wouldn't make a whole lot of sense. I guess you could do the Battle land, the Battle for Zendikar lands, but they're not very good either. It's definitely a shock land. That's the only choice. See a Brainstorm resolving. Just looking at a bunch of Delvers and DRCs. But he does have that Lightning Bolt, so he can take care of that Plague Engineer and maybe get some advantage down. That's the card really holding him back right now. Kind of agonizing over this Brainstorm, though. All right. See a Wasteland come down, get rid of one of those duels. The Lightning Bolt. Free to play the Delver of Secrets. Both of them come down. And pass it on back to Max. Going for a Polluted Delta, get another Underground Sea. And 3 mana is actually going to get back the Benevolent Geist. Casting this guy for his Disturb cost out of the grave. Going to make non-creature spells uncounterable, but it's also a 2/2 flyer. Or, yeah, a 2/2 flyer. So this guy can trade very well with a Insectile Aberration, which is going to preserve Max's life total. You can trade the whole board and get rid of both of these guys. See a DRC coming down for the Surveil triggers. Expressive Iteration, trying to get some more advantage. Not the best 3 cards you'd want to see. I think it's a Wasteland, DRC, and a Daze. DRC going to exile. Wasteland going to hand? By drawing the Wasteland, that is a useful play. Can keep Max off of his dual land mana. Looks like we're Fatal Pushing one of the Insectile Aberrations and trading with the Baleful Strix, keeping the useful Geist in play. 2 of these Dragon's Rage Channelers in play, getting double Surveil triggers. All right, we see Murktide Regent coming down. I think he's going to be the full 8/8. Yep. A lot of instants and sorceries in the grave. These Channelers do not have flying without Delirium, so the Geist can get through safely through the air. Unblockable. We see I think that's a red Elemental Blast, might be a Pyroblast. Going for it on the Murktide Regent. Is going to counter that with a Flusterstorm. Already cast 2 spells, so this is going to be for 3 mana. Doesn't have quite enough to pay for it. And Alan does try to go for a Daze. Realizes that the spell is uncounterable due to the Geist, and just lets it go through. Keeping the Murktide Regent around. Hard card to deal with. See another Hermit come down. And a Ponder for Max. This 8/8 Murktide Regent is going to close out the game pretty quick. We see another Regent come down. From, yep, that's going to be game 3. Going into it, Alan has the play. These are grind fests of games for both of these, trying to play on tempo matches here. I don't think Max really wants to commit to the combo since it brings him so low with his life total, and if anything goes wrong trying to resolve the Thassa's Oracle, then, Delver has all sorts of different ways to deal with it. It can either Lightning Bolt, or it has a Force of Will that's up, or it can Disrupt while you're drawing. It's just a dangerous game to play, and this is exactly why Max has created his deck in this format, so that he can play these tempo games and kind of shore up his match against the Delver matchup, which arguably is the strongest deck in the format right now. We see a Mishra's Bauble come down. Dragon's Rage Chandler. There was a little bit of a fight over Baleful Strix earlier, but it got dazed. 1 damage coming through. Oh, 3 damage coming through. It already has Delirium. Land, instant, sorcery, artifact. See a Ponder for Max. Has to deal with this Dragon's Rage Channeler. 2 mana. Might have another Baleful Strix in hand. Yes, indeed. I think presenting to cut. Yep. Both decks doing a lot of shuffling. Seeing that hard cast days. Don't want to bounce any lands if you don't have to. Doesn't have the extra mana and is not going to Force of Will it for a small bird. Or maybe he doesn't have the Force. Going to see the Expressive Iteration here. Get the Surveil trigger. Basically seeing 4 cards. Oh, did have the Force. Just didn't want to fight over the bird. So Expressive catches that Force of Will. Going to see the Murktide Regent. Keeping the Ponder in the grave. That's interesting. So it comes down as a 5/5. Good enough to block a Dragon's Rage Chandler for sure. Wow, that's quite the Ponder. Seeing 2 Brainstorms and a Delver of Secrets. That's a ton of gas to keep on top of your deck. Holding on to the 1 of Mystic Sanctuary. Wants the 3rd island in hand, I think, or at least in play, before he puts it down. Nope. Gonna go for it anyways. Wants the mana in play. This would have been able to put an instant sorcery back on top of his deck if he had a 4th island, but need that mana generation over the advantage of the card. See the Brainstorm, main phase Brainstorm, and just a pass. Definitely playing the tempo game. 5 damage over 1 damage, but now that the Delver has flipped, we are in 3 damage territory. That's 4 turns versus 3 turns. So if this Murktide Regent is unanswered, it actually wins the race here. But unfortunately for Max, well, there's another Red Elemental Blast, or Pyroblast. I couldn't really tell with the art. I'm sure that somebody will tell me in the comments which one it was. I'm passing it back. We see a Temporal Mastery coming down to take an extra turn. That's going to be pretty huge. Ooh, we see the blast going through. Force of Will saving the Murktide Regent. Alan thinking about it. He does have access to the Ponder, or to the Brainstorm right now. Says, yeah, that's pretty important to fight over because I'm going to be taking 10 damage here if Max gets 2 turns in a row with a 5/5 in play. See his own Murktide Regent. Decides to put him back. Doesn't have an answer for it. Does have another Ponder, though. So 5 damage, down to 8. Oh, you wish that blue-black could run Lightning Bolt. 4 mana for a Leyline of the Void. Hard cast. So here we go. Alan trying to figure out how to do 7 damage with a 3/2 in play. A Ponder. Oh, cards are going too fast. It was a Mishra's Bauble. Something else. He's got his own Murktide in play, or in hand, so at least he has a blocker for that Murktide. 3 damage brings him down to 4. Yep, going to cast that Murktide as big as possible. Gonna get that 8-8. 8-8 blocks a 5-5 all day. And with Max just pulling cards off the top of the library, he goes ahead and passes right back. Blocks the Murktide, takes 3, and we see an end the festivities actually end this game here, dealing 1 damage to Max to put him at 0. So quite the match between these two Tempo decks. Thanks for joining us for that round 3. That was quite the ending to those games. I just want to say, if you guys are interested in the deck list, they're of course in the description for the video. Please like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And thank you to Spellhold Games, of course, for allowing us to record all of the players each of these Tuesday nights. We wouldn't exist without them. And the next video that's going to go up on the channel is actually a Pauper Night, and it's going to be Boros Monarch, Boros Tokens versus Bigfinity. We'll see you then.